and Steve Bannon. I mean, these are like the big names in the Make America Great Again movement, and a lot of them have been very, very vociferous in their opposition to opening of hostilities between Iran and the United States. They're very much about, America first. We might love our allies, but America first. And people are forgetting J.D. Vance. I mean, as you can see there in the video, J.D. Vance is wearing a different necktie color, which some people were also trying to read into it. I mean, you can look at his facial expression, you can look at how he was positioning himself. Some would say that J.D. Vance was perhaps not totally sold on this, or at the very least, he was quite worried that this could get out of control based on his own experience. He served in the Iraq War. He saw how there's so-called mission creep. You might want to start with one mission. Next thing you know, there's another mission. Next thing you know, you're there for 20 years and spent trillions of dollars and lost thousands of lives. And J.D. Vance was very clear the other day that regime change was not on the table. In fact, he even said Iran and U.S. were not at war. This was really about the nuclear program operations. So I think at many levels, there are many MAGA leaders who were extremely worried about escalation. And I think they're very much welcome the cessation of hostilities. But I think everyone knows, fundamentally the situation perhaps has not dramatically changed. Each side is going to stick to their own guns in the coming months and years. And therefore, I think the push right now by Congressman Mazzi on the Republican side and Rouhana on the Democratic side is to reassert the power of the Congress. The reality, however, is that if you study American foreign policy over the past 50 years and look at a lot of literature on that, like the Power Wars, for instance, book by the New York Times columnist on the Obama era, the U.S. presidents actually enjoy tremendous amount of latitude in terms of engaging in external military operations. In fact, the war powers of the Congress could be sometimes mitigated or curtailed by the president when they refuse to even call a military operation a military operation. I think we had one example during the Libyan Gaddafi operation, whereby the U.S. engaged in some military operation, but President Obama did not describe it as such, and therefore did not provide the legal basis for the Congress to come in. So if the Congress wants to reassert its power, there has to be really some sort of a major consensus there. I just don't see that because the Republican leadership under Speaker Johnson are very much aligned to President Trump. President Trump still has tremendous amount of influence over the Republican Party. The Democratic Party, let's see what direction it's going to take. That's why everyone is watching the New York elections, mayoral elections, because the race between Cuomo and Mamdani could also say something about what direction the Democratic Party wants to take, including on foreign policy issues, considering how Cuomo and Mamdani have very different takes on a range of conflicts, including these latest conflicts in the Middle East. So what I'm saying is that, yes, in the MAGA movement, among some Democrats at least, there's this sense that things could get out of control and that there has to be a push for reassertion of congressional power. But many stars have to align before Trump can get legally and constitutionally curtailed on this. And President Trump was also very defiant. He challenged AOC Ocasio-Cortez, go ahead and impeach me if you want, because he's quite confident about that not going anywhere. But nevertheless, I think what we have seen is that because of the horrors of the Iraq War, because of the ignominy of America, the way by which America had to withdraw from Afghanistan just a few years ago, after 20 years of all of the blood and treasure they had to expend on that really unfortunate nation. I think the Americans are really not interested in picking another major forever wars. And in the case of Iran, you're talking about a country more than 4 times larger in population than pre-2003 Iraq, and a country that has proven its ability to bounce back from very, very difficult initial tactical setbacks, as we saw almost 2 weeks ago. So now the difficulty starts. If we go back to the negotiating table, what is the U.S. going to offer? Are they going to offer really something major in terms of sanctions relief and some sort of normalization? And in exchange, will the Iranians be agreeing to giving up completely their enrichment capacity? Because the issue here is not nuclear program. Iran has an operational civilian plant in Bushehr, close to the south of the country. But will the U.S. allow for any kind of enrichment? I think we're going to see a lot of rounds of back and forth on this, because I think the Iranians may be open to freezing their enrichment capacity for confidence building for quite some time. And maybe both sides could sell that as some sort of a good opening. But after everything Iran has gone through, and after the resilience they have shown in terms of their program and even militarily, some would say, will they just agree to some more maximalist concessions? That's difficult to see. But then again, Gretchen, nothing is impossible. This ceasefire let's be honest, many people were very, very skeptical that there was even a ceasefire. We don't know whether it will hold, of course, but the fact that at least in the past, 12 hours or so, we have not seen major bombings and all, that shows that maybe there is indeed a commitment to some sort of a more durable peace in this part of the world, because just the stakes are just so high, Gretchen.
Seems to be there is some truth to that ceasefire after all the questions about its veracity. But you're right, it is fragile, and we will see what happens on from this moment. In the meantime, maraming salamat. Thank you so much. We have geopolitical analyst Richard Darian weighing in on the conflict in the Middle East.
Thank you.
Don't go away. We'll be back with more stories.